Hey, and welcome to FitMitTuro Fitness Podcast, a podcast for people who want to get no BS information about fitness and know that fitness is about so much more than losing scale weight. It's about feeling confident in your skin and empowered in your life. I'm your host, Turo Virta, personal trainer, strength and nutrition coach, and most of all, a husband of my beautiful wife, Miriam. Each week, my guests and me will give you some no BS fitness tips and motivate you to take action in your own personal fitness journey as we talk about nutrition, exercise, mindset, personal development, and executing in life with enjoyable but still effective strategies. If your goal is to look better, feel and be strong and experience transformation from inside out, you, my friend, are in the right place. Thank you for jumping in. And now let's jump into today's episode. So welcome to FitMitTuro Fitness Podcast, and today I have amazing guest, Dr. Joe Parent. He's the best-selling author of Zen Golf, Mastering the Mental Game, the best diet book ever, Zen of Losing Weight, and A Walk in the Wood, Meditations on Mindfulness with a Peer named Pooh. He's a performance psychology and applied mindfulness expert who has coached athletes, actors, artists, and executives, as well as consulting with businesses and organizations and counseling individuals and families for more than 30 years. Dr. Joe also hosts regular Zoom sessions offering free teachings and guided instructions in the practices of mindfulness and compassion meditations to help people all over the world make it through these challenging times. So, Dr. Parent, welcome to show.
Thank you, Turo. Happy to be here.
I'm excited to talk with you about everything, and I'm sure we have a lot of things to cover. But your three books, Zen Golf, Zen Tennis, and Zen of Losing Weight, are on very different themes. What is the common thread with all these books?
The common thread for all the books they are based on mindfulness and awareness. And the principle of everybody having a certain level of competence and needing to develop unconditional confidence in that, in themselves. And then I have a habit-changing system that I introduce based on mindfulness called the Ninja system, Ninja. Mm-hmm. And you know, a ninja is a secret warrior.
Yeah.
And this is a subconscious training program to change habits. And the letters stand for necessary intention, non-judgmental awareness. So first you have to have a necessary intention. You have to have a goal of what you want to accomplish, of the habit you want to change, either to cultivate a habit that you want to do more of, or to refrain, diminish, reduce a habit that you want less of. For example, if you find that you eat until you get really, really full, and you don't like that feeling afterwards, but you have the habit of just not knowing when to stop, this system can train you, and you train to stop sooner, and then you eat less and you feel better. So, but you have to have the intention, so necessary intention, and then not beating yourself up when you fall short. And that's really important in sports and dieting and in life, to not beat yourself up. So it's non-judgmental awareness. You simply notice, and by simply noticing and mixing that with your intention, subconsciously you move toward your goals.
Yeah, because this is something like what is in performance but also in weight loss. They are kind of totally different things, but there are so many similarities. So if you think it like this, is like what you mentioned about like overeating or that kind of stuff. If we touch a little bit on that weight loss side, like how you are then, what you would tell someone or how you describe that your journey when you want to get rid of that habit, what kind of steps you should start taking? Or
well, again, it's the first is to decide that you want to make a commitment. And I was listening to one of your podcasts how everybody in January makes their commitments. We call it a New Year's resolution. That I will resolve to do this. And those usually last about 2 or 3 weeks. And by the end of January, you fall back into your old habits. Mm-hmm. So you have to continually reinforce your success and learn from your mistakes. And have in writing somewhere what your intentions are, what your goals are. Now, I like to separate goals and objectives. So my goal might be to lose 20 pounds. But if I have that goal of losing 20 pounds, and after a week I get on the scale and I've only lost a half a pound, I might get discouraged. Mm-hmm. So instead, I like people to have small objectives, little goals on the way to the big goal. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a saying, a question, it's a riddle. Can a mouse eat an elephant? Yes, a mouse can eat an elephant. How? One bite at a time. Yeah. So you have to take very, very small steps. So when people want to have a weight loss program, I say, okay, you want to lose 20 pounds eventually, let's start with 2 pounds. Mm-hmm. And so if you've gone from 100 kilos down to 98 or pounds or kilos, you know, down to 98, okay, that's your new base. If you find yourself going above it, you have to tighten a little bit. If you find yourself going below it, you can relax and loosen a little bit. But we always want our program. I have a chapter in Zen Golf, and it's also in my diet book. Not too tight, not too loose. If we get too tight, we start to and raise our expectations too much. We beat ourselves up and get frustrated. If we're too loose, we don't make any progress. We have to have a little bit of discipline. So find that middle way, find that middle ground.
That's so good. It's on a paper, it's easy to say, but then in a real life, it's hard. Like when you get social media or getting those expectations that what is normal expectation or what you should expect. So it's really finding like that really realistic expectations.
Yes, realistic, because the difference between your expectations and your results is your frustration. I actually have that equation, E minus R equals F. The difference between your expectation. Now you have 2 ways to reduce your frustration. Improve your results, so it's good to work on that, and lower your expectations. And ideally, you want your expectations to be just a little bit above the level of your results, so you keep moving forward. But if it's too far from your results, you'll get frustrated and give up. Oh, yeah. So we want to keep you rewarded. So if your goal is to lose 1 kilo, that you can do that and get that reward. If it's to 20, you might be a year before you get your reward, and you'll run out of enthusiasm before then.
Then how this is like also same kind of principles in sports, and as you work with top athletes, and how do these principles of Zen, like you wrote that book, that intersect with the high pressure world of competitive sports, or basically any sport?
Well, the way that I work with that is to, as you said, the realistic expectations, to start with your preparation and say, how do I prepare? And again, the key principle is to get out of your own way and get the most out of your abilities. Now in sports, and this applies to dieting as well, but let's focus on sports, on Zen Golf. So I worked with thousands of golfers, but the top ones were Vijay Singh, originally from Fiji, of Indian descent, and Christy Kerr. on the LPGA tour, the women's tour, and helped both of them get to number one in the world. When I first started with VJ, he said, I've been out here a long time. I've played these courses many times. I know where the bad places are. And all I'm thinking about is how to avoid them. And for Christy, it was, I know I can hit perfect shots. Why don't I hit perfect shots all the time? So there's two really good examples of working with the top level of athletes. And the first is shifting your focus, taking the negative possibilities into account, but not making them your main thing. They cause interference. Interference comes from worry about the outcomes. And Christy came up with a great acronym. An acronym is a word, one little word that you make out of the first letters of each of the other words. So the words worry about results. The first three letters are WAR, war. So she says, when I worry about results, I'm at war with myself. And that's the key. We fight ourselves. We get in our own way. And if we get out of our own way, our abilities may be perfectly good enough to accomplish our goals.
Yeah, that's
now,
so good.
That doesn't mean that you still don't need technical training and increasing your skills. But first, you need to say, how good are my skills? The only way you can measure that is you remove the interference. And the interference in performance comes from worry about results. And the way that it shows up is you either try to do more than you're capable of and help it go there. Like, I know, Turo, you're a hockey player, and you think, okay, I've got to hit this slap shot extra hard. Wait a minute. Then you lose your balance and you actually hit it worse. The other one is, I've got to try to not miss. So one is trying to help and do more. The other is trying to avoid the mistakes. And then you become tentative and you start trying to prevent it from going where you don't want it to go. So in golf, you're either trying to help it go, like go farther or turn in the direction you want more, or you're trying to avoid the trouble. And so you hit it very far in the opposite direction, which still doesn't help you. And then the last is, I have to be extra careful and guided. And being extra careful in golf, in sports, really doesn't help you because you hold back and you don't perform to the best of your abilities. You don't want to be wild and careless, but you don't want to be careful. You want to be carefree, free of care, free of worry.
Yeah.
So if you clear out the worry about the results, you shift your focus from outcome to process. Focus on doing your process and let the results take care of themselves.
That's so good. And it's like it's an individual sport, but it's also in a team sport. Like from my background, I played ice hockey. It's now a long time ago, and I'm still refereeing, but it's the same sport, but it's totally that like you said, that more you focus, like there is why those athletes, why you have some hot streaks, everything is going on your way, because it's that what you are feeding your mind, what thoughts you are feeding, are you believing, you are focusing on that performance. Maybe you don't even think about it too much. You are just doing your job and doing whatever you can, instead of if there is a kind of a cold streak that nothing is working, and then you are worrying it even more and more, and then it makes things even worse.
Correct.
So how it is then, because there's we talk a little bit about pressure, like because many athletes, they're struggling with the pressure, especially when there is some pivotal moments in a game or match, and how then those Zen teachings guide them in these situations?
Again, it's to focus on the process. Tiger Woods was famous for rolling in these amazing putts on the last hole to get into a playoff or to win a tournament. And someone asked him, "How do you do it?" And he said, I read the putt the best I can, which means predict the path that it's going to take. I get a feel for the speed, in other words, uphill, downhill, how fast the green is, the best I can. And I put the best stroke on it that I can, and then I see what happens. And so I teach the see what happens approach rather than I need it to come out this way. If you need it to come out that way, you're putting the pressure on yourself. But if you just do your job and see what happens, if it's football, and I'm talking about international football, which Americans call soccer, but if it's football, your job is to do your job on the field, pass it when you have the chance, shoot it when the opportunity is right, but not second guess yourself, not try too hard and not hold back. And that happens by focusing on your skills and your process. And again, letting the outcome take care of itself. I'll tell you a little story. I was working with Vijay Singh. We were at Pebble Beach, a very famous golf course, a big deal tournament. I'd been working with him for a few months. And he was standing next to his amateur partner talking with him. And I took the driver out of the amateur's bag, not my own club, just this guy's club. And Vijay said, "Hey, Doc, I've never seen you hit a shot. Let's see what you can do." And he teed up a ball for me. And now this is not my club, not my driver. I did not have any warm up. And as I stood over the ball, I said, if I try to make a good swing, I am doomed. All I can do is my process, trust my feel, go through my sequence, get my rhythm, and then see what happens. And I hit not a great shot, but a pretty good shot. And he said, "Not bad, Doc. That's pretty good." And I knew that it was purely mental. And his caddy came up to me afterwards and he said, "I was impressed with you before, but now I'm really impressed because you hadn't warmed up or done anything, and your swing isn't all that great. The only way you hit that shot was with your mind." So I'm very impressed with that.
Yeah, no, but this is like what is now people are starting to talk. Like when I was, it's 20, 30 years ago. You have been long in a business, but 20, 30 years, athletes, they didn't use any mindful coaches or thinking, like it was like either you had it or you didn't have it. And now it's kind of like every professional have some kind of mental coach and helping to go through these struggles. And because it's really like because differences on top, it's so small. And if you think your physical abilities, there are how many players or athletes are with the more or less same physical abilities, but
exactly
the difference comes with those mental things and shifts what you make. And this is kind of something what is like, it's not only athletes, this is the same mentality. It applies basically everything in life. Also in if you think like weight loss, business, or anything like that, what you are feeding to your mind, it's often that outcome what you will get also.
Yes, that's why I do business consulting with executives and I do keynote speeches for companies and work with performance in every field because it's how you bring the skills you have, the talent you have to bear and get the most out of it. As you said, the mental abilities are the difference. When I started, there were literally, you could count on one hand the number of mental game coaches. And now, as you said, it's proliferated. And I'm very gratified because my book came out a long time ago, Zen Golf, and people are still reading it. And I coach a lot of students who weren't born when it was written. But now they actually talk about that as, oh, he was really in a Zen kind of state of mind for that performance. And so it comes back to the work that I've done for the last 25 years in coaching this. You asked about pressure situations, and the real pressure doesn't come from whether we're going to perform as well as we hope, because sometimes we perform as well and you get a bad bounce or you get a bad break, or the other person just happens to have their record-setting day. There's nothing you can do about that. But if you fall short, it's really a question of your own character. And when we think of expectations of others, they don't expect someone to perform their best every single time. They're looking at their character. How do they handle it when they don't? And that's really the most important thing. And it comes back to what I was saying before, not beating yourself up, giving yourself a break and saying, okay, I made a mistake. What can I learn from it? So in addition to the preparation before a performance and before when you're starting your diet, when you're going to give a talk or conduct a business meeting, lead a business management retreat, whatever it is, it's a kind of performance. Mm-hmm. And you want to prepare for it the best you can. And to prepare the best you can, you have to also be accepting of all the range of results so that you have realistic expectations. Then you perform. And then the most important thing is, what can I learn from that? How do I reinforce my successes and learn from my mistakes? And if you beat yourself up, you can't learn from it. You can't think straight if you're bent out of shape. Mm-hmm. So you have to clear that frustration, feel it. That's our motivation. We're angry at ourselves a little bit, but don't hang on to that. Just say, okay, what could I have done better? And what will I do next time to prepare better? And that way you have a cycle of continuous improvement.
Yeah. It's kind of what is like you do kind of debriefing. Like it's in a weight loss. If you or sports is the same. Like you sit down, take a time to analyze what have happened, like what kind of data you have got, what results you have got, and then like learn from it. Either keep going, make adjustments, and keep moving. Or if for some reason something didn't work, but because nowadays people, especially if you go for weight loss, or it's in athletes it's a little bit different, but for weight loss, like that, there are so many diets out there, and if something is not working, then it's either my own fault or diet's fault, or when it's not working, and it's often like that you probably even are seeing results, but you just don't realize that you are actually making progress. And that is the worst thing, that you end up quitting while you make actually progress, but you don't measure it in a right way or understand that what kind of realistic expectations you should have.
Yes, that's right. And that's why I liked what you said. You have to take a deep breath and calm down, and then I call it be the objective detective. Unemotionally reflect on the situation and say, what were the things that led me into doing it in a way that wasn't as good as I know I can do? And therefore, what do I need to prepare for better next time? What were the situations that I put myself in that made it difficult for me to stay on my diet? What was the way that I prepared for my event that I didn't perform as well as I know that I can when I'm not in pressure situations? What do I need to do to strengthen my mental capacity to handle the pressure and not let it make me worried about results again? So, you talked in one of your podcasts about people's approach to diet of being a hopper, and the funny thing is, it's just like you said, just before they start to get the results, they quit and change to something else.
Yeah.
And it happens almost, and so that's why I talked about acceptance and patience to give yourself a chance. What happens as you're developing new skills, this is important for people to understand. There's a plateau that happens. And subconsciously, each element of the skills that you're developing start to come to the similar level. But until they all get to a similar level and gel and come together, you will always be a little better in one and not so good that day in the other, and then vice versa in other situations. And so your overall performance is going to be level and a plateau, and you'll feel frustrated that you're putting in the work, but you're not making progress. Patience, give it a chance to gel, and suddenly there'll be a breakthrough when it all comes together, and you will move to a new base level. And then you'll feel like, oh, I am so glad I waited. I was about to switch to another program.
Yeah.
And people just switch just before it all comes together. And then they have to start over. So and then they get discouraged and say, and as you said, oh, I'm not good enough to do this, or there isn't a diet that really works for me. But that's not true. In fact, in my diet book, I don't have a diet.
Yeah, no,
I have no menus. I have no recipes. All I have are suggestions for how you can change your habits. I'll tell you one of my favorites, okay? And that is put your utensils down. After you let's say you cut a piece of meat with your knife and fork, you put it in your mouth, put the knife and fork down. If you have a spoon and you're eating something with your spoon, eat the spoonful and put the spoon down. Then sit back, chew it, taste it, and you'll slow down, so you won't be eating as fast. You'll feel full sooner because you're eating more slowly, so you won't eat as much, and it'll taste better. You'll enjoy it more. So the need for the flavor that we all have gets satisfied sooner. Just doing that, people lose weight.
Oh yeah.
Just putting their utensils down after each bite.
Yeah.
Feel better and lose weight.
That is, it's one of the biggest and best skills. Like if you want to learn how to maintain lost weight or having healthy weight, is to learn to eat mindfully. And this is something what now, like if you look where the world is going, how habits have changed and how people are, everything is, you are eating in a hurry and it's go, taking something and eating while walking or going, and because you don't have time to eat. And this is all then leading to another issues and problems. And
Yes,
this is something what really makes me like, it's a one good example is was like we were in a vacation and in hotel breakfast, having a breakfast. And when I was looking, there was like a lot of parents with the small kids, and how they were small kids and how they were parents eating. Like it happened every single day, same pattern. Parents put for a kid phone in front of them, playing some video game or watching some movie. And at the time, parents were feeding their kid and I was like that. I'm not here to justify what is if it's like, is it probably better than not eating at all. But if this is like a pattern and habit, what they are repeating for the rest of their lives, how that child can learn to eat mindfully at some point if they grow up like this way, that they have been watching and been distracted and tasting nothing.
I'll tell you what else is happening. For their whole lives, they will not be able to watch TV without eating something while they do it.
Oh yeah.
Because those two things psychologically have been paired together.
Mm-hmm.
So watching TV, and they won't be able to eat without watching TV,
mm-hmm.
and they won't be able to watch TV without eating. And that's actually worse.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That is interesting. Like, do you have, like you told, I mentioned in my earlier podcast that I struggled with I still struggle, like those habits what are coming from childhood, and finishing everything on the plate, that they're not wasting food, and that have been a big thing for me. And I have been improving it. I have been practicing it, but it feels like that it's so hard to break that habit, even you know very well what you should be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's actually good not to waste, and we know that that's part of the problem, that we know that it's a good thing not to waste, but if we're already full, then it's kind of saying, well, I don't want to waste, I don't need to eat this, and it's probably not good for me, but I don't want to waste it. And we have to be able to say, okay, how can I work with this? One thing I do very often in restaurants, they give you big portions.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do is I say, can I have a takeaway container at the start of the meal, not at the end? And I take at least a third of what they've served, maybe half sometimes. I put it in the takeaway container before I start. And then, no problem. And I get two benefits. One, I eat less right there. I get to finish what's on my plate. And especially if I liked what I had, I get a snack, tomorrow of more of the same delicious food. My wife and I would do that. We'd each take our half and put it aside. And then the next day, I would have what she ordered and she would have what I ordered.
Oh, that's good.
So we get to have both. So there are little things you can do like that to change your habits that aren't traumatic, that don't really interrupt what you're doing, but they make it, and then you start getting used to eating smaller portions. Mm-hmm. Instead of putting your meal on a big dinner plate, have your main dish on a salad plate. You can fill the whole plate up. It'll look nice and full, but you're going to have taken a smaller portion to start with. And then if you finish it, you won't be stuffing yourself.
Yeah.
No, these are all suggestions that I have in my book.
Yeah.
And in Zen Golf, as you said, I wrote it to be a life book as well as a golf book. And the same thing for Zen tennis. So there are plenty of things in there that people, even if they don't play the sports, those sports can use in other sports and in any performance that they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are, by the way, those books, they are must read. So go to, we will talk later where you can get them. But then you are now, when we talk a little bit about performance, and I want to talk a little bit about when you have having challenges. So it could be, this is also again something like what could be related with the performance or athletes, but also in a weight loss. So how can athletes use those principles to turn challenges or setbacks into opportunities for growth and learning?
Well, that's very much what we talked about, and that is to stop, calm down, and reflect, and say, what can I learn so that I can do something different? If we made it, the most important thing, again, is not to beat yourself up. Because if you beat yourself up, it actually reinforces the behaviors that led you to make the mistakes, because we get extra attention paid to them. We respond to attention. And if we're beating ourselves up, it's negative attention, but we're paying attention. So it's really important to just say, okay, I understand I make a mistake. Nobody's perfect. And that's really important, to cut down on this idea of perfectionism and to say, everybody makes mistakes. It's okay. Give myself a break. And I'm going to start fresh tomorrow and continue on my program, but not get discouraged. In sports, if you're having a slump, very often you're trying too hard and you're not not going back to your fundamentals. So that moves us into the difference between performance and training, and the difference between a training session and the actual competition is to understand the difference between skills practice and performance practice. Skills practice, you're learning part of what your overall goal is. You're learning a particular move, a particular kind of shot that you take, whether it's hockey or golf or tennis, a particular stance and setup and posture that gives you the best chance to produce the shot that you want. All of these little parts, and those, you don't have to have the whole thing. You just work on that part to develop that skill. But when it comes to performance practice, you want to simulate the game time performance the best you can. Simulate that and create as close to that pressure situation as you can, even if you're just visualizing it, if you're just imagining it. Because imagining the pressure is as close as you can get to feeling the pressure. So when you're playing golf, if you're on the driving range or the practice range, and you want to do performance practice, tee the ball up and say your name, announce your name as if you're being announced, and picture that there's lots and lots of people around watching you. And that imagination will get as close to the performance. And pick an area out there imagine a fairway, and that you only have one shot, not a bat, not a bucket of balls. So you can practice in your training sessions in a way that simulates the game. That's why they have scrimmages. Half the team gets on one side, half the team on the other. And one half of the team is supposed to imitate the way your opponent is going to play. They call that the scout team. That they actually try to imitate the opponent, so you are ready for what you're going to experience in the competition.
Yeah, is this like, I remember seeing like from Tiger Woods, like how he was practicing those pressure situations. That was it. His dad was playing drums and making some noise, and while he was practicing those shots, and that is. It's obviously it might not be always possible if you don't have somebody to play drums or having, like, if you play in front of a lot of people, but even imagining of those situations is helping, right? So but if it's because there is that concept of like when you are in a zone, like then there's like you are on a hot streak or in your zone when nothing else matters. That how you can get that. Like if you like, I remember that I when I was playing hockey, it was very few times that I was getting into there. Like it was maybe one time in a year or something, that you really were so focused that you don't, if somebody doesn't know what it means that you are so focused on that game that you don't, like, usually, like, I don't remember anything on that game, or it didn't matter how many people were watching there. I was just focusing really on that one every shift after shift. And this is like, obviously that was probably the best games when you are in that zone. So
my co-author of Zen Tennis, a gentleman named Bill Scanlon, who sadly he passed away, died of a brain tumor just a couple of years ago, and much too young. He played a perfect set in tennis. He won 6 games and did not lose a point. Not a game, a point.
Wow.
He won every single game at love. Gave up no point. And he did not know he had done it when he finished.
Oh, yeah.
The referee, the umpire said, "Mr. Scanlon, do you know you won every point?" He said, "I know, 6-0, I won all the games." He said, "No, not every game, every point." He said, "I did?" Because he was so focused, his only job was returning every ball that came to him. It wasn't about the score. It was about his process. And so the same thing happens. I was coaching a young lady who we've used the ninja system to train her out of worrying about what the score is going to turn out to be.
Mm-hmm.
And she finished her round and she won her match and thought that she had 4 birdies in the round, and she made 7.
Wow.
And didn't realize it. And that's the zone that we talk about, which means we are so into the process, we have no thoughts about the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And we are completely out of our own way. It is available all the time to all of us. It's just very rare that we let ourselves access it. But using the techniques that I teach of mindfulness and awareness and managing your expectations in a realistic way and having a positive vision for what you want to accomplish, it invites that experience more and more and more. So it happens more often. And I work with people all over the world to do this. And nowadays it's so wonderful. We have these video conferencing tools.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like being in the same room with them. I even have players who take their phone or their tablet out on the golf course with them. And I get to do a playing lesson with them from 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 miles away.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's really makes it so many different ways possible to do that kind of stuff, what obviously earlier was not even possible. So then how it is then, like, because this is like kind of athlete stuff, and if you are not some top athlete, that how you could incorporate that Zen into your daily life, like to have kind of if you like individuals, how you would incorporate those teachings to achieve kind of more like a sense of balance and purpose.
Well, I work with sports coaching, I do business coaching and life coaching. Mm-hmm. So when we get on a Zoom or FaceTime or WhatsApp or whatever the platform, I don't have a canned program. When I started working with VJ, mm-hmm. he said, "So tell me what your program is." And I said, "You are my program.
Yeah.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to try a lot of different things. And the ones that don't work, I don't have any investment in whether they work or not. I only have investment in if they work for you. So we'll use the ones that work for you, and we'll just drop the ones that don't. And so we're gonna develop the recipe until we make that perfect dish that we want, and not use a set recipe from a cookbook."
Yeah.
So if I work with somebody in their life coaching, very often it's either something to do with our relationships, something to do with our own bodies, like getting fit, mm-hmm. losing weight, getting more fit, being able to, even if you're not a professional athlete, maybe you want to do a distance run and train yourself for that. So anything in our lives. And then in business, it's always a kind of performance.
Yeah.
So it's not that different than sports. And golf, each moment, everything, it's always new. In tennis, there might be a little breeze, but if it's an indoor court and it's the same kind of surface, it's exactly the same dimensions. Every golf course is different. Even if you play the same golf course, they might put the hole on the green in a different place, and it changes everything.
Oh, yeah.
So every moment is new, and that's what our lives are like. Every moment of our life is new. So it's not saying, okay, I need a list of all the things that I can do to handle myself. I have a story in Zen Golf of a student who goes to a Zen master and says, "Now I know this is going to take a long time, and it's a lot of information, but I want you to give me instruction on how I can best handle myself in every possible situation that could come up in my life." And the master said, "Oh, I can tell you that right now in just one sentence. conduct yourself in your life, in everything you do, as if your 5-year-old child were watching you.
Wow.
Then you will be at your best. You will always do your best.
Wow. That's so good. That's so good. When you then you talked about those individual needs, like that you need to customize and obviously, because it really depends on everyone, that there is no one solution what works for everyone. Like it's not like in diet, there is not one solution what is right one for everyone. So how do you tailor those teachings to suit like per individual needs?
Oh, that's exactly why I did not put any recipes or any menus in my diet book, because they're not going to work for everybody.
Yeah.
But the habit changing technique works for everybody.
Yeah.
And so the first thing we do, and I think you might find this interesting, and a lot of my clients are surprised when I say this. Instead of saying, so what's your problem? What do you want to work on? I start by saying, tell me something that you do really well. Whether it's in your sport or in your business or in your life, tell me something you do really well. And so we start with that. Then I say, okay, I'm going to take your ability to do that, which clearly you have confidence in, and move that into the other areas that you want to improve. So I never talk about strengths and weaknesses. I talk about strengths and areas where there's room for improvement. Isn't that a much more positive way of looking at it? You see? And so we always start with their strengths. So I start with somebody telling me something they're proud of how they live or perform, whatever it is that they're doing. And that immediately starts positive self-talk about themselves. They're not beating themselves up about, oh, this is what goes wrong and this is what goes wrong. I don't want to hear all about that to start. I want to hear what you do well. Then tell me, how do you think you could apply that to situations where you want to improve? And now it all stays in a positive direction. And people can see stories about that on my website, and I send out a free newsletter every week with samples of people's success stories, as well as quotes and tips for performance in golf, in dieting. And my most recent book is based on using Winnie the Pooh, the famous character from kid stories, for families to develop mindfulness, awareness, changing habits, and appreciating nature and their world. And I wrote it with my sister. Disney company published it. And I'm really, really happy about it. And it's something that people can get and read with their children. And it applies to children of all ages, even us seemingly grown-up children.
Yeah, because we are seemingly, but only seemingly grown-up children. So those are, I love that positive attitude, because this is something what I personally try to do as much as possible. Because if you when you ask people, like you ask where they are struggling, they are very fast telling you, and there's gonna be a big list where they are bad or where they are not good enough. But then when you start to ask strengths, it's like it's often getting harder. But it's actually how it's impacting you, like you said, that is making such a huge difference. Thinking it and consistently thinking more positively, and not only those negative things which went wrong, because that is it's so much easier for most people to tell right away.
Maybe we can find a way to help your listeners, and we can work together with them.
Yeah, that would be. I would love that. I would love that. So thank you. That time went flight so fast. I think we could keep talking for hours, but I have to respect your time, and thank you for coming here for listeners who are keen to integrating these principles and find more about you, where people can find you, buy your books, work with you. Feel free to tell.
Well, I'd like you to post this on the website.
Yeah, I will put show notes.
As well.
I will put it on
but
show notes.
It's simply drjoeparent.com, DRJOE.
Yeah, I will put it on all those and show notes.
.com. And I have an Instagram page, and but the main thing is on my website, and working personally with people is very easy to set up. And the other thing is it's about every 2 weeks, and the schedule is on the website under Practicing Mindful Awareness. I want to invite people to come and join in my free mindfulness and compassion meditations that I do. They're usually Thursday mornings. I think the next one is September 7th, but people will be listening to this for a long time. The best thing is to go to the website and under free resources, look at Practicing Mindful Awareness, and that'll give you the Zoom link, and it'll give you the dates and times that I'm doing those programs. And I think that's the best. I have a Facebook page for Zen Golf and for my own name, and I also have my own name for Instagram account. But you can find all that from the website, drjoeparent.com.
Thank you, Dr. Parent. I learned definitely a lot, and I hope listeners too. And if you enjoyed this episode, and I would love to hear, we would both love to hear from you. So let us know, tag us in Instagram or in social media, and let us know what was the biggest takeaway, what you learned most in this episode. So thank you for listening, and talk to you soon. Hold up, friend. Do you love FitMitTuro Fitness Podcast? If so, the best way to say thank you is to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review on iTunes. I know every podcaster wants you to leave a review, but it's because those reviews help the podcast to reach more people. I truly want to know what you think, and if this particular episode resonated with you, would you also please share it? Either send a link to someone who you think will find it valuable, or take a screenshot and post it into your social media and tell your friends and family why they should listen it. Make sure you tag me so I can hear your feedback and give you a little love. And if you aren't already following me on Instagram or TikTok, that's the perfect time to hit that follow button. Thank you for being here and listening to FitMitTuro Fitness Podcast.